So, welcome to the Tattoo Teacher podcast. On today's, or whenever you're listening to this, I've got Ruby Fuller. Now, Ruby holds a Bachelor in Entertainment Business Management. She also holds a Bachelor in Education in Secondary Music and Drama. She's taught maths, science, drama, English, religion and ethics to a Year 12 rugby union class, go figure. History. She's held various positions across a number of schools: Dean of Year, Acting Deputy of Students, Head of Year, Head of Drama. She's also held Deputy Principal role, Acting Deputy Principal roles at times. She also, in her spare time, has competed and coached dressage both on the national and international stage. And on top of that, Ruby also coaches small groups and trains horses in her spare time. So, Ruby, welcome to the Tattoo Teacher.
Thank you, Phil. How exciting to be here. What an introduction. I sound really important, don't I?
Mate, you have done a lot in a short time. So
Yes.
that's amazing. It's always hard to, when someone else reads out your CV, you go,
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Please never do that again to me.
Well, it'll go out to all our listeners, so they'll hear what a champion you are. Now, you've done all this stuff, and you're still in the classroom. You're still working hard in a climate that really begs to go, why are we still here? So what is your why? Why do you keep coming back?
And I think when you asked me that question, I was like, why do I keep coming back? And as we just started our 2 weeks of holidays, which we are very thankful to have, I think the reason is that I love working with young adults. I love working with kids that walk in through my door not knowing something, and I can go, I taught them that, and they walk out and they have knowledge. And knowledge, I think, is power. It's not just the curriculum knowledge, it's asking them how their day was, getting to know who they are. I'm huge on building relationships with kids, and I think throughout all the different schooling kind of cultures and places that I've worked, at the end of the day, you've got to get to know these kids. And I think there's been a big shift in post-COVID kids that they kind of go, well, who are you? And why should I put my trust in you? Because they grew up in a bubble. They lived through that bubble for 2 years of their lives. And like when I was in school, you just respected the teacher. You know, they may have had a dog. That's all you knew about them. But these kids want to know who you are, what you're about, and why should they let you into their circle? And I think that approach to the kids these days, and I have some interesting cherubs come through my door sometimes. And rather than kind of upping them for the rent, I just go, hey, how's your day been? And they're like, what, you're not going to yell at me? I don't need to yell at you. I want to know how your day's been, and I want to know why you're in such a foul mood when you've come into my classroom, and how can we work through this? Like, what's up with you? And I'll tell you what's up with me. I'm like, I had a rotten morning. Got in the car, fuel light came on, sweet. Wasn't planning on that. Stop on the way to work, $120 later for a full tank of diesel. And they realize that you're human. And I think that bringing that human element back into teaching and having those connections with kids, that's why I keep going back to the classroom.
Hey, that's brilliant. I'm very relational. I mean, just Ruby and I worked together at a school a number of years ago, so we became good mates almost immediately.
Phil's first day, it was. He just went, God, she's cool. I went, I know I'm cool. Be my friend.
So Ruby knows that I'm a relational teacher as well. And from just everything that you've said, and I've seen it in practice. I've seen the way the kids have interacted with you at one of the schools we work together at. But you mentioned COVID, you mentioned relationships, you mentioned that the kids want to know more about you, so they want to know that you're investing into them.
Absolutely.
Before they'll even invest into even thinking about turning up to class.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing, and I think I've seen a lot of senior teachers who have been teaching longer than I've been alive, some of them, that still have that real old school mentality that the kids give respect. It's just granted. And I feel like saying to them, that's not how it works anymore. And whilst these teachers have like a wealth of knowledge and, they have gone through chalkboards, overhead projectors into whiteboards and now into smart boards, like they just still think these kids are the same. But these kids have a device in their hand, sometimes 24 hours a day because they fall asleep in bed with it in their hand. They're getting this false sense of connection through social media. And so anytime they're having human interaction, they put their wall up and they go, well, who are you? Who are you before I let you in? And senior teachers who have been teaching for all those years kind of don't think that they need to shift their mindset of how to work with these kids. And then they have massive blow-ups and behavior problems in their classroom. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That kid's awesome. I love having them in my classroom. And I'm like, what are you doing that I'm not, there's something going on that's different with us. And I think it's that thing that these teachers are expecting kids to come in, sit down or stand behind their chair, be little robots. And that's not who we're teaching these days.
Yeah, there's definitely been a shift in students in society, especially pre to post COVID, that online learning where they just lost so much stuff, and it's. I'm just trying to think about how to phrase the question properly. In how do we get them to buy in when, like you said, that it's social media is their world,
Yeah,
and they see everything as perfect, or what's perceived to be perfect. So
absolutely.
how do we get them to buy into a flawed system?
Yeah, where the teacher's telling them that they're wrong or they made a mistake, and that's not how you do something. When they're scrolling through their Instagram feed or their TikTok feed, and everyone's beautiful and everyone's perfect and everyone's got a brand new car and no one had a bad day, and so what they're getting fed through social media and then the reality of them being in a classroom are so two different things. And they've got to know that, well, I'm not perfect. Like, I'll write something on the board and I turn around and be like, does that look right? It doesn't look right to me. Sorry, kids. I didn't pack my eyeballs today. Grandma Pat's having an off one. And they'll have a laugh. But I'm like, I made a mistake. It's okay to do that. Like, I'll be the biggest idiot in the classroom and I'll be vulnerable. And I think especially being in that drama classroom where you're getting kids to get up and perform in front of other kids. Like, that is, public speaking is most people's biggest fear. Like, they would rather swim with sharks than public speak. And I'm
Yeah,
asking these kids to get up and be an idiot in front of their peers who they're most vulnerable in front of. But then they're going to go out to lunch and someone's going to be like, oh, nice one. You look like a moron in that class. So how do I create a classroom that kids are running to my door? They want to be inside that door. And, I said, and if you had a rough day, please tell me. Because I'm not a mind reader. And if I was, I would have guessed the lotto numbers and I'd be in a water floating hut in Bora Bora. But I'm in a
nice.
classroom. Haven't quite guessed the lotto numbers yet. And I'll say, look, I had a rotten day. Had an absolute rotten morning. Got given a supervision in my spare. Now I don't get a break all day. So yeah, I'm filthy. And they're like, oh my God, she's real. They also have a theory about how I tie my hair, but
Well, they come up with some interesting ideas, don't they?
they do.
The young peoples.
That they do.
So how do you think you create that safe environment? Because you do teach drama, and they're learning how to. You've got to create this safe environment for them,
Yeah.
essentially, to fail, which is super important. But how do you create that safe environment, or how do you think you create it to allow them to fail publicly, like in front of their peers, as you mentioned?
Yeah. I think a big part of probably what shaped me in my teaching practice, and again, I was going to be a 5-year statistic. I kind of started and I was, getting home exhausted and going, all I'm doing is yelling and saying no in my classroom. Like, there's got to be another way. And as if like, oh, the heavens opened. Here came Carolyn Blackley and she's like, hey, you can be positive in your classroom. And I was like, you can't because kids are naughty. And she's like, no, just start acknowledging the good stuff in your room. And I was like, Is it that easy? She's like, well, that and amongst other things, but just acknowledge some good stuff in your room. And she gave me a great tip, and I tell all my prac students to do it. Get 2 different coloured post-it notes, and every time you criticise or critique a student or, you know, make a negative correction, take one colour off and put it in your pocket. And anytime you do something positive, say something great, acknowledge good in your room, take off the other colour and put it in your pocket, and just do it. And at the end of the lesson, empty your pockets out. And I did it for one lesson. And look, there was one positive thing, because I think I made a sarcastic joke to a kid about, oh yeah, good one. And I was like, hang on, was that positive? No, it wasn't actually. So that one didn't count. But, you know, I have really clear expectations of my students, and it's not just the ones I teach. You know, any school I go into, whether I'm walking into a supervision lesson, if I'm, you know, leading a year level assembly, and a beautiful child who probably needed to remember my expectations a little bit more than others. You know, you have those lessons where you're like, right, I may as well just like turn the lights off and walk out, because it's just not, it's going south, and it's going south quick. And I stopped and I was like, guys, you know, like, what are the expectations in this room? What are my expectations of you? And I always used to have 3 words, and they used to be effort, honesty, respect. And I think, you know, everything falls under those 3 words. And this delightful child, like, sheepishly puts his hand up because he knew he was the problem that day. And I was like, you can't say anything worse than what you already have. Go for it, legend. He goes, why don't you change them to HER? Like, Miss Fuller has her expectations of you. And I said, mate, that's the smartest thing you've said the entire time I've ever taught you. You sit down, you're done for the lesson, champion. You do some colouring in, because that's brilliant. And now, literally wherever I go, I just say to the kids, look, Miss Fuller has her expectations of you, and her is honesty, effort, respect. And it's this beautiful little acronym that we have. And no matter what class I go into, I'm like, hey guys, and they're like, hey Miss Fuller, and they're like, I said, look, hey, Miss Fuller has her expectations of you today, and they know it's honesty, effort, respect. And at the end of the day, I want a respectful classroom. We finish on respectful classroom, respect to me, respect to themselves, respect for themselves, respect to each other. And, you know, I want you to be honest with me, not brutally honest, but just honest. Tell me if you don't get it, and, you know, put in effort. And I think those 3 things, and I go on and on and on about them. There are posters everywhere in the room. Anytime I can capture a moment and link it back to one of them, I do. And I think with enough, not brainwashing, but repetitive, like, you know, especially at the start of the terms, they just get it. And I'm like, I will be respectful for you. You need to be respectful of me. You need to be respectful of your peers and yourself. And all of a sudden, they kind of just go, this actually is a really good place to be. And there's fair consequences. There's great outcomes when they're good. I love sending positive emails home. I love ringing a mum at 2:30 and saying that notoriously naughty kid has been awesome today.
It almost sounds too simple, Rubes.
It does. It sounds too simple.
Too simple. And like, I mean, I've been teaching just a little bit longer than you. And I mean, I haven't got the acronym, but it's that thing that one kid, he gets the vibe of the classroom. He gets the, hold on, Miss Fuller, she'll bust me for doing stuff.
Absolutely, but I will be that kid. I will be their biggest cheerleader.
Yeah, she'll bust the good kid for doing the same thing. But then when I do something really good, I get more applause.
I'll sing your praises. I'll ring your mum and say, hey, look, dead set legend today. Dead set legend. Get him a frozen Coke on the way home, because, look, crisp high 5 to your kid. But what that then lets me do is, when I know that kid's going to then play up in my classroom, I've already called mum and we've had a really positive conversation. So when I need to ring home again, it's on the back of a positive, and then that parent goes, oh my God, they were good for you and now they're naughty. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's brilliant. Please, everyone, use my little simple trick.
Well, I mean, I might bring it to his rules rather than her. But,
you can invent it. You can invent something.
We'll put that in the show notes for sure.
Yeah.
Copyright Ruby Fuller. But so it's all about relationship, not only with the students by the sounds of it, but also like a really positive and insightful relationship. And by what I mean by insightful is letting the parents know both positive and negative when needed.
Absolutely. And I think, I'm like head of year 7 this year, and the biggest thing that parents have given me feedback is primary school. It's like constant communication. They hear about everything. They hear when their kid is good. They hear when their kid is bad. They get flooded with information. And these parents are saying, but my kid's now come to high school and all I get's the detention texts and I don't know why. And I'm like, yeah, because your teacher has, your kid has 6 teachers and they've each got 100 and something kids that they teach. It's no longer 1 to 25.
Yeah.
Like it's a massive scale. Like secondary school is huge. And the time it takes to do those phone calls, to send those emails, yeah, it's time consuming. But if I bust myself in that first week, I don't have to make phone calls for the rest of the year. I don't have to make those challenging parent-teacher interview bookings. I don't get parent-teacher interview bookings. And I feel like saying, if I've got a problem with a student and I'm waiting till parent-teacher interviews, I've missed my window.
Yeah, I
But
agree with that one.
those kids that are, they need that extra relationship connection, I'll call home in the first week. I'll spend 15 minutes on the phone to have the most amazing 3 70-minute lessons for the rest of that year with that kid. So it's,
Yeah,
in a way, it's working harder, but it's working smarter in the long run.
yeah. So you find that the investment in I mean, I'm sure it probably doesn't work all the time, but
Oh, there are
you
some,
find the
and
investment overall works.
absolutely, there are some families that, you go to send a positive email to and you get an automated response saying, if this is about my kid at your school, we're not interested. Or you go to ring the parent and the phone goes straight to voicemail, so they've blocked the school's number. And I go, cool, great to see you're invested in your little human that you've brought into this world who is entitled to an education and is so lucky to be getting one, and you're not invested whatsoever. And I just think, who burnt the bridges before me?
It's a good question.
Yeah,
That's a good question. Yeah,
yeah.
because like we know that when any student plays up in the classroom, generally it's not what's happening in the classroom; it's what's happened at home with their
Something at
mate.
home, or it's a lack of ability that they would rather muck up, get kicked out of the classroom than have to answer a question and be vulnerable and
Yeah,
get it wrong. And I think then, because I've been wrong for the kids, I've asked them, hey, who did wicked stuff on the weekend? Who was at skate park? A kid rocked up from a classroom with a scooter. I was like, show us a trick. Wicked. He's like, have a go, miss. I was like, nah, I like my shins, mate. um, and so, and I say to them, if you haven't had breakfast, you're human. Your period 2 lesson at 10:30, you're going to start getting a bit feral because you're hungry. Just let us know, like, whack your hand up. If you just need to go and have a quick snackaroo, that's cool. And they don't abuse it because they're like, oh, hang on, she's letting me, oh, this is different. I said, but you've got to be respectful about what I'm giving you. You've got to be honest with me. And as soon as you violate those 2 words, snack break's born.
yeah. So you have first and foremost yours. It's all about the positive reinforcement,
Yeah,
but then there's also the consequence to action. But it's done, but
absolutely.
you've created this safe environment for them to do that. And then how do they cope? Like, kid goes, yeah, I'm really hungry, which he might be, and then he or she might be. They go and have their snack, but then they start playing up, and you go, huh, you've done the
Yeah.
wrong thing. How do they? What's their general reaction to you when you then enforce her rules?
Well, it's interesting. Like, there's no kickoff. They own it. They go, yeah, sorry, miss. I said, hey, what are you doing? They're like, oh, sorry. I went to the classroom next door and I was annoying the kid through the window. I said, what should you have been doing? Eating my snack outside. I'm like, do you reckon you're going to get snack time next week? No, sorry, miss. All right. get yourself back inside. You got stuff to write down from the board. And they're like, oh, okay. And they won't ask for another stack time for a few weeks. And they ask again, do you think I should trust you? Do you think I can trust you to go out there and have snack time? I put it back on them and they go, I mean, you probably shouldn't. I said, why should I trust you? And all of a sudden they go, oh, because I'm going to do the right thing this time, because I realize what happens when I don't do the right thing. I go, cool, off you go, give it a try. And 9 times out of 10, they never, ever abuse the privilege again.
That's amazing. And I found over the years as well that kids will rise or fall to meet expectations that are placed upon them.
Oh, absolutely.
They want to do the right thing, generally.
It's like, I liken it to a pack of dogs and a bag of schmackos comes out. Everyone's going to sit, everyone's going to stay. If you give them that incentive to work for it and you tell them they're wonderful and you tell them how great, and sometimes you've just got to look for the smallest positive. Hey, mate, your shoes are tied up really great today, but what I need you to do is get out your book and your pen and I need you to sit in your seat. Like, I've gone there, I've applauded shoelace tying before because I've got nothing. I'm like, I can't even say your uniform looks good because there's a pocket hanging off here, there's a button missing, but hey, your shoelaces, chef's kiss, get inside. So yeah, like, I probably look like the kid, whistling down the street with me Colgate flute, like, oh, I'm so positive. But I find you've got to work hard with the juniors and then it just seamlessly takes them through to your seniors.
Yeah, because I mean, one of my views is that school, we got to teach them curriculum and we got to give them information and there's knowledge and we've got to do all that sort of stuff. But part of our role, and it sounds like you're doing it superbly, is teaching them how to be humans, teaching them how to safely interact with others, respectfully, honestly, with a good work ethic in the world outside of school, whatever that may be.
Oh, absolutely. Because realistically, we have them in schools for 13 years of their life. So what can we give them? What skills can I set these kids up with, to go into the big wide world? And they may remember one thing. They may be like, you know what? I got nothing else going for me, but damn, my shoelaces are tied well because my teacher told me. Like, who knows where they'll end up. But if I can kind of give them some kind of, just be a decent human, just go out there and be a decent human being, then I think my job's done.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And we know as well that sometimes it's that smallest compliment about the shoelaces. The kids having a rough however long, and
That's
we know
it.
teenagers they make some very, very final choices. But it could be that, oh, Miss said my shoelaces were good. Oh, someone actually does care for me.
That's it. And it's that kid that I was saying before, you call home because they're notoriously the naughty kid who gets the phone calls for bad, and they get a good one. And I've not told that kid I've called home, but they walk that little bit taller and that little bit prouder the next day. And they're like, do you know what? No, someone's seen me. Among the 1,300 kids in this school, someone saw me. And you think, if only, a school with 150 teaching staff, if every teacher saw one kid every day and made one phone call, it doesn't take long before the whole school's had a phone call home.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it. And I mean, I know as teachers we're tired, we're overworked, there's so many added responsibilities placed upon us.
Yeah.
But from what it sounds like, that little bit of extra effort, and it might only be a 5-minute phone call. It could be
That's
a 10-minute phone call. It could be just a quick email. But by the sounds of it, that little bit of effort for the child, for the student, pays dividends throughout their schooling.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And like I used to say to my PC teachers, if I'm head of year level, I said, look, I know, I understand you are under the pump. You are absolutely strapped for time. But if twice a week you go start at the top of your role, ring the first kid, hey, I'm your kid's family group teacher or their pastoral teacher. I'm just ringing to see how things are going. And that parent's like, oh my God, everything's fine. No, thank you so much for calling. And that's a 2-minute, it's a 30-second conversation. Cool, no problems. If you've got any dramas, look, I'm your person to go to, or if not, head to this person. But you ring that one parent who their kid's a star, they're A plus, they've never had a problem, there's no behaviour problem, so no one's ever initiated contact with them. And you ring that parent and you go, hey, I'm their family group teacher, just checking in, just want to introduce myself and see how you're going. And they go, well, we've just, husband and wife just separated, or there's been a death in the family. You get such, like, the gold you get from families when you ring. And that little A plus kid who's just going through the motions, just doing the right thing, whose whole world is crumbling at home, you would never know about those things. And because you've reached out, you've picked up that phone and made that conversation, you've just gotten information that you can help that family. And I think, like, the amount of kids that just go through the motions that they don't tell you. And then you think, you poor little kid, you poor thing.
Yeah, they're trying to carry that burden on their own. They think that they're the only one who is struggling. They're the only one who feels ugly or useless or
Absolutely.
dumb
Yep.
or not. They've got no friends and yeah,
Yeah, and they've not said anything because they don't want to put themselves out there, and they can see that their teacher's busy and stressed, and they're the eldest, and there's 3 other kids at home, and mum's trying to manage everything, and they just put up, they just keep going. So, and I think, like, this year being head of year 7, my favourite time to get to know the kids, literally just up and down the whole coat. I've got 217 year 7s. Don't quote me.
wow,
Something like that.
wow.
I pick a random name out of that roll. I go look up that kid and I go, oi, come with me. And the whole class, ooh. And I let all the teachers know that it's happening. I said, look, I'm just going to take them. And I come back to my office and I go, what colour Zooper Duper do you want? And their face goes from, like, pure, the colours run out of their face because they've walked back to their head of year levels office and they're like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? They think, I think I kicked a rock. Oh my God, I've done something wrong. And I go, what colour's Zooper Duper? I got heaps of blue ones. And they're like, what? Can we have a Zooper Duper together?
So it's building relationships.
Absolutely, because I don't teach them. And I'm like, I need to get to know these kids. And then, if something goes down in the playground, I have them running to me like I'm a Pied Piper. Miss Fuller, I think I know what happened. Tell me what you know. Power of a Zooper Duper.
I guess because they feel safe to talk to you.
That's it. And, they come into my office, there's photos of the horses, photos of the donkey. And they're like, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, well, there's some of my horses, and that's my donkey. And you have a donkey? I'm like, heck yeah, I have a donkey, as if I wouldn't have a donkey. And there's music playing, and they're like, she's real. She actually doesn't sleep at the school. She's real.
It's funny, isn't it, when students see you outside? I remember I was
the best.
back in Sydney. I was walking downtown, just in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and I was walked past. I recognised the student straight away. He didn't know me from Adam initially.
No.
But then that brain kicked in. He stopped and come back, and he's just like, "What?"
And let you leave.
Quick conversation. It's like, yeah, no, I don't live in the bottom classroom of the school.
Yeah,
and
I actually don't sleep under my desk in the staff room. Yeah. The best one is when I see kids out, if I'm kind of on a Saturday or the holidays, and I'm in between riding horses, and I'm like, oh, just got to nip down the shops and get something real quick. And look, equestrian wear is it's an interesting fashion choice. And they see me and they're like, wow. And I have a good conversation with them. At the end, I'm like, this never happened, you and me. You never saw me like this. It's in your dreams. It's in your imagination. They're like, yeah, okay.
Locked in, locked
Yeah.
in. Because yeah, that like you've had so many other opportunities. Like obviously your passion is there, and I can see it, and I've seen it like up close and personal. But
You've
just in the
seen me do my
conversation,
magic.
I've seen you do, yeah, with some of those kids that they've just to what you've been able to get them to do. These quiet little timid little student, then you get them on stage, and they are just
I know.
they
Crazy,
they just
right?
open up, and they just glow, and it's amazing to see. But like prior to teaching, and your passion is there, and I'm sure that our listeners they're going to be able to hear it as well.
They're going to be like,
But
who is this
you know,
crazy woman?
who's this crazy lady? I want to know more about her. But so you did a Bachelor of Entertainment Business Management, and you told me
Mm,
once that your mentor during that time, one of your mentors was Mr. Michael Gudinski, the famous Australian promoter who
absolutely.
unfortunately passed a year or two ago.
Yeah.
So you've had these tremendous opportunities outside of school. So how has that and those relationships and seeing how that side of the system work, that side of the entertainment industry, because you teach drama, so you're in
Yes.
entertainment. But how has that side and seeing those operators work? How has that influenced your teaching?
I think, and I say to every prep student I have, they're especially the ones that are fresh out of school, fresh into a teaching degree. I'm like, dude, you probably still got a sandwich in your bag. Hey, like, you got to go and see the world. You've got to go and see the world and also realize that you are like this minuscule, tiny amount on the bigger scale of things. Like, realistically, you are a speck of dust in the atmosphere. But I think working in that industry, seeing it's fast paced, it's go go go, and I mean for those who you've seen me, I don't stop. I'm a little Energizer bunny, and you do it's that level of professionalism and trust that you put in them, and like you're told this is your job, you need to do it, and then you're left, and you're like, I need to work that out for myself because I don't know what I'm doing. So I
Yeah,
bring
so
that industry of if you sometimes you just got to fake it. Sometimes you fake it till you make it, and you got to ask questions, and you've got to be out there. And I mean, you've experienced any new staff. I'm like, hello, my name is Ruby, and my role in the school is asking the dumb questions because I will do it.
yeah,
And a lot of people, they don't want to ask, how do I connect to the photocopier, and they don't want to ask, what do I do if, and they don't want to ask those questions because it's confronting to be vulnerable. But I'm like, I'll do it. Oi, what do I do if I need to call in sick? And they're like, oh, you just ring this number. And I'll yell across the room, you just got to ring that number. Do you want me to text it to you? I'll do it. um, so yeah, I just, and that was the thing. Teaching was always, it was always what I was going to do. Going to do teaching, going to be a teacher. Oh, how great. Because everyone said, oh, you get really good maternity leave. And I was like, is that it?
well, that doesn't help me out.
Yeah, I know. That's how they were selling it to me, and I was like, pretty sure that I don't want to have kids, but good selling. Any other perks? And I got accepted into it from uni, and I deferred it. I deferred my teaching degree, and I actually changed high schools and did year 11 and 12 at a different school, and I did a certificate too in music industry, and I went, oh my god, I love it. I love it. And yeah, went, how do I do more of this? Whatever this is, telling people what to do. I'm really good at it. Because I was like, I love lighting, I love sound, I love the kind of behind the scenes stuff of it. Everyone's like, oh mate, you're such a talented performer. Go be out the front. I was like, I don't want to be. I really don't want to be out the front. I want to be organising. Classic type A. Love a spreadsheet. Um, And then, yeah, kind of did that at school. And I was like, this is wicked. How do I do more of this? And then literally got on the Google machine and looked it up and found this degree. And they were like, oh, we offer scholarships. I was like, oh, well, give that a crack. Got a scholarship. Like, classic Ruby style, just kind of waltzed into it. And yeah, did my bachelor there of entertainment business management. Any opportunity came up, oh, we need volunteers to work at this festival. Yeah, wicked, chuck me down. I was like laying gaffer tape, and someone's like, you're really good at that. I was like, thank you. I can't feel my kneecaps. And they went, do you want a job? And I went, yeah, rightio. Talk to that bloke over there. I said, yeah, rightio, I'll just finish this gaff. And that's how I did it. Like, I just put myself out there. And I think that's the same thing with teaching. Like, literally, I was on my prac. The HR guy called me into his office. He said, do you want a job? I said, yep. He said, you don't even know what it's teaching. I said, it's teaching. And it's minutes in the classroom. He went, interesting. He's like, it's a math science contract. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Cool. And one rule in that science classroom: no Bunsen burners, kids. I paid a lot of money for these eyebrows, and I'm very flammable. And when in doubt, I Googled it. Some kid asked me a question, don't know, but I can Google real good. Found it. They're like, you are really good at Googling. I said, yes, it's a gift. So yeah, I just put yourself out there, be vulnerable, ask the dumb questions. And I think I take that still into my classrooms, and the kids are like, she's just like an adult goofball. I'm like, I know, I'm fun.
Yeah, that's what we need. That's what we need more. We need more fun in the classroom. I mean, my classrooms are often chaotic and noisy. Some people see noise as unproductive, but um, sometimes it is absolutely. But other
Oh,
times
yeah.
it just shows that the kids are comfortable. They're working, but they're enjoying it. And you and I know, and most people know that when you're enjoying your work and when you're having a good laugh and you're getting on well with your colleagues and colleagues, your peers, your student, whatever,
Yeah.
everything flows so much easier. And
The work is more enjoyable. You don't feel those, oh my God, I've got so much to do, burdens. And I think that's a big thing, like finding your people in a school where you can go, yeah, I've had a really massive day. I've got marking up to my eyeballs, but I'm laughing and we're having a good time. And, these people get me. And then they know when you're not having a good time and they're there to support you. Like, it's that finding your niche of people, and like we joke, we had the family at that school, and it literally was, like we were a little family, and we've all since left, but still keep in touch. And the school that I'm at now, like they're people that there's one of my colleagues, I'm like, do we share a brain? Big, and like and it's like the universe, we should have met before we worked together at this school, but for some reason it waited until now to bring us together. And like, holy guackers, I've never felt more at home with like colleagues than I have ever in any other school.
yeah, that's amazing. That's brilliant. Yeah, we had some fun at that school.
A lot of fun.
And
We
and
did do work though, I promise.
we did work, yeah, and we got some things done, but we had fun. And
And I
you
think
talk about,
the kids
yeah,
see that as well, though. When the staff are well connected, kids see it and they're like, oh, I want to be part of that. And I think that's another, like, you can have the culture in your classroom, but you need to have that culture as colleagues and be a united team. And the kids are like, I want to be in on that fun, you know?
yeah, and that's the thing. It's finding that. And look, I was not a perfect teacher to start with. I've honed my craft over the years, as I'm sure you have. And you mentioned earlier that you were almost one of the statistics.
Yeah.
Walking out of an amazing profession that you love, but were just just sort of driven out of it by the system or by the workload of, not the workload with the kids, but all this other stuff
Yeah.
that just keeps on getting stacked on. Um, what advice would you give to some young teachers? Because I know so many of them come out and they just want to be perfect. They think they need
Yeah.
to have their classroom sorted, the management working, their marking on task, all this sort of
Yeah.
stuff. What would you say to that? Yeah, and you have a lot of practitioners, as you mentioned. What piece of advice, like if they listen to nothing else and learn nothing else from their time with you, what would you want them to know?
Say no. Learn to say no, thank you. Respectfully, love the offer, but I'm at my maximum capacity. It's
Yeah,
and I think, I mentor a lot of beginning teachers, and they see me and they're like, your email signature's like this long. I'm like, yeah, I wear a lot of hats. But I say I do that with 8 years of experience and 8 years sitting in lots of different seats. And I say to them, and I also don't take my laptop home, which is very controversial. I do not do schoolwork at home.
yep. I'm with you on that one. I
Yeah.
mean, I take mine home, but come, if I have to stay back at work to, maybe 6:30 at night because we have to work hard. Teachers do. We've got
Oh,
we've got deadlines that we
absolutely.
need to meet. But I shut my laptop and I go home.
Yeah. And I think that's really important. And, people say, oh, how do you get it all done in the day? You shouldn't be able to do it. And I'm like, yeah, me and Beyonce have the same amount of hours in the day, and like she's rocking it. So, but like I get into work early, at my desk at 7. But what the beautiful thing is that when my lessons start at 8:45 in the day, you cannot be in meetings, you cannot be on the phone, and you have to stop working because you have to turn up for your kids.
Yep.
And obviously, I've built curriculum that comes with me, and thanks Australian version 9, no worries, I'll just do some tweaks. I've updated it. It's all done. And everyone goes, your whole drama curriculum's on version 9. I'm like, yeah, it is. It wasn't hard. I got it done. Write a to-do list, get it done. Be productive. Don't sit by the zip tap for 45 minutes gossiping about The Bachelor. Get in there and get your work done. Like your spares are gold. Use your spares. You like have a lunch break though. Step away and have a lunch break. And when you finish at the end of the day, you walk away from work. My very, very wise father once said to me, he used to manage like big Woolworths and everything like that before he got into his own business. And he said, if for any reason on the way to work you were wiped out by a bus and you're in hospital or you pass away, Woolworths will still open that day. They will continue working. Not all the staff will get the day off to come to your funeral. You are replaceable, but you're not replaceable to your family and your loved ones.
That's solid advice there.
And I think that's the big thing. These young teachers are coming into the job working so hard to get that beautiful permanency that we all talk about. And they're just burning themselves out, and they're, distancing themselves from family and loved ones and what their hobbies are and what their downtime is. I'll come home, and if I've had a rough day, I'll just get on the ride-on mower. There is something so zen about doing up and downs on that ride-on stripes. It's my downtime. It's my reflective time. I put on a podcast, something, and that's my downtime. And then I'll feed the horses and I'll go inside. And I'll feed myself, go to bed. Put the day to bed, it's done. Don't roll that baggage into tomorrow, like it's a new day, and you are replaceable. You are not the only teacher that can do that job. There was someone before you and there'll be someone after you.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing, like not needing to look perfect. And I think admin has a lot of improvement still to do, in that they expect perfection. Like, it's these teachers have always had a supervising teacher in the classroom with them. They finish their final prac, they get their bit of paper, and then you're whacking them in a room by themselves. Like, and then it becomes very judgmental when you say, hey, we're going to do a classroom observation. And you know who crawls the most, their skin crawls when you say that, is senior teachers. Hey, we're going to send someone from admin into your classroom. And they get all like, you can't do that. Oh my God, no. Oh my God, no. And I say to everyone, my classroom door's open. Come on in. I've probably got my shoes off and I'm being some kind of crazed animal, but get in here. So I think, admin really, like, we need to set up that culture of open door, collegial team, collaborative teaching, and take that judgment away from the classroom for especially for beginning teachers. Hold their hand, like, support them, have the person in the school who will be their go-to for dumb questions.
Yeah, well needed. Yeah, because I heard a comment. I can't remember who said it. It was probably on a podcast. But they said teaching is the only job that the first day you walk in, you're doing the exact same thing as the last day you walk out.
Yeah.
And like the last day you walk out, you've learned all these tips and tricks and
Absolutely.
stuff. The first day you walk in, you're just like, holy crap, what have I done?
And universities aren't giving these graduates, like, what they're asking to do in uni and then what you actually do in the real world is like two different things. And whether it's something that we need to kind of do more internships where these like graduates are getting 6 months. And I know that, we're screaming out for teachers, but how do we keep the teachers? Like, there's so many teachers out there, but for some reason there's a teacher shortage. So the model has to change. And how it happens, who knows? That might be my next legacy.
Absolutely. Well, hey, by the sound, if we could bottle your passion for teaching, I think we'd solve some problems there.
It'd be fizzy.
Now you talk about you've talked about not be perfect, close your laptop, make sure you got your hobbies, and how busy teaching actually is. You get to work at 7 a.m. I'm not quite there. I get there just a little bit. I stay back. Not a morning person. The old adaptable teacher, happy for a late night and not good for the early mornings.
No, Grandma Pat's got to be in bed by 9.
But so we talked, and in the introduction, because I know some people are going to be going, yeah, we talked. She like dressage and international and national and you coach and how do you fit that in on top of a full-time teaching load and being also in a middle leadership position?
Yeah, I don't know sometimes, honestly, Phil. Ask my colorist how she keeps those down. But I think it because I love it. I love it. At the end of the day, I love what I do. And I think, when you're that passionate about something, you'll make the time. You'll somehow make it happen. At the same time, if I feel like doing nothing and, rotting on the lounge on the weekend, I don't forbid myself from doing that. I still, I'll go out, catch up with friends, have drinks, go see a footy match, ride some horses, because it's what I want to do and I make the time for it. So I think, but if you said to me, oh, you've got to go to the gym, I'd be like, oh, got a bit on. Don't think I'll make it to the gym. Or hey, put the washing away. That's a 3 to 5 day business turnaround. It's folded in the basket, I promise. It's like I said, I have this crazy passion for having fun in my classroom. And do I function up here all the time? No, we're human. Of course, we have down days. Of course, sometimes I look at the horses and I go, yeah, I'll get around to riding you eventually. I'll just feed you less so you're less of a dragon. but it's something I love. And I think even with the coaching side of it, I love seeing riders have that breakthrough and have that aha moment. The light bulb just goes up and all of a sudden it clicks and I go, oh my God, I'm doing it. And their joy just fills my bucket. And I go, that's why I do this.
It sounds like you are gifted to be a teacher in some form or another, whether it's in the classroom, which is first and foremost by the sounds of it,
Yeah.
but also whatever you put your hand to, your your goal is to improve others.
I think that's it. You know, like people say, oh, you some of the things you come out with when you teach me on my horse. No one's ever said that before. And I go, yeah, but did you laugh for 45 minutes and did you have fun? And they're like, yeah, it didn't even feel like I was training. And I'm like, that's all I can do. And at the same time, like I still have like when I train, my gosh, it's like discipline and it's got to be perfect and blah, but I love that. I love the discipline. I love the perfection. I'm a perfectionist through and through. I'm a terrible delegator because no one will do it as good as me. I'm slowly learning. I think I sit in those two camps of like that type A, but then like the crazy person who just is a bit, screw loose. Um, but yeah, that's like I said, it brings me joy. It fills my bucket, and life's short. Hey, fill your bucket with whatever you can.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, and your bucket is certainly full.
Yeah.
And I just it's I always love having a conversation with you, Rubes. It's always a
You never
laugh.
know where it's going to go, do you,
We,
Philly?
we we don't know where it's going to go, but look, there were questions that I was going to ask you, but we've managed. They've just all come out in this conversation. So I was going to ask you about are teachers being prepared at university? We answered that.
I've read your
How do we?
mind. I could become a
So
mind reader next. That'll be my next
exactly.
adventure.
You've hacked my computer
I
and
have.
you've
Yes.
got in there.
Yes.
Hey, speaking of computers, now you're in drama,
Yes.
and the entertainment industry, and there's been a lot of talk, and we're going to go a little bit techie and geeky here.
How exciting.
And there's been a lot of stuff about this generative AI. Now, like I
Mm.
think it's great, but from a entertainment drama point of view, do, I mean, has it even popped up in your radar? Does it even come into play in your fields?
Honestly, it doesn't, because I think as much as AI is great, don't get me wrong, I love it. I use it. Um, and I use it as a starting point and a platform to springboard off, because I think you cannot replace human. And I think whilst AI is fantastic and what it's doing is incredible, there still has to be that human sprinkle of whatever we have over it. There's got to be that heartbeat that a human has that an AI doesn't. Um, and I think because I work in such that creative space, you can't replace that yet. And um, whilst I'll use it, AI write me a two-person script, because I've lost the ones that I had from last year, and it'll spit me something out, and I go, great, cool. It has helped me, but it's not replaced the arts, and I don't think it ever will. It'll enhance what we do, but in no way can we be replaced, because going to see a live musician or theatre or a musical, I can make really cool backgrounds and really incredible production elements, but I still need a cast.
Yep. Yeah. So it's got its place. It's a by the sounds of it, and that's sort of, similar to the way I use it. It's a tool to enhance human creativity.
Absolutely. It will, it made my PowerPoint presentations look really schmick. But at the, but at the end of the day, like it can't replace that human spark. Like it cannot replace what the emotions that a human is capable of. And I think that's something that we need to teach the kids, that it's to work alongside them. It is not to replace them, and we cannot turn to AI and computers to do everything, but let's use it to get us somewhere.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's awesome. Yeah. And that's the way, many of the conversations I have. It's very much like that. It's like, let's use it to enhance humanness. Let's use it to be that starting point
Yeah.
to
Like
help.
don't stare at a blank email that you've got to write to that parent because you're like, oh, how do I start? Ask AI to start it for you. Or,
Yeah.
I needed to write a unit plan the other day because I had this really great idea to run like an enhancement academy. And don't ask me why I do these things to myself, Phil. But I went on to AI and I just went, write me a 10-week unit plan about this for year 9 drama. And it spat me out everything. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll take that. Won't take that. Oh, but I'll take that bit. And so instead of me sitting in front of a blank Word document for half an hour, procrastinating my desk, ringing that parent that I didn't want to ring, filling up my water bottle 3 times, I had a starting point. And I think if we can use it to, again, be more productive, that a 2-hour job now took me half an hour because I used AI to get me started, that's gold.
Yeah. And that gives us that time back to invest back into the classroom.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to find that little spark and that little bit of energy that we can put back
Yeah,
into.
because I haven't, then walked into my period 4 class going, oh God, I'm basically cross-eyed. I just wrote a 10-week unit plan and I'm exhausted. It took me
Yeah,
half an hour. So, yeah.
that's awesome. That's great. Now we've delved into a lot of stuff and we've talked about some pretty serious stuff as well in such a fun and
I know.
great way. I love it. I look. I love your passion. I love the way you think, and I love the way you look at the world. Like you look at a job that we do in a way that I think every teacher wants to see it, but we just have a really hard time seeing it that way sometimes. And I'm sure you have
Oh,
you mentioned you have some down days and some rough days and some like, oh, that's it. I'm
yeah,
chucking it
look,
in
honestly,
days.
some days I'm like scanning groceries at Woolworths, sign me up. Um, and people, but again, it's one day. Don't let it ruin your whole story. Like, I talk about filling your bucket. Yeah, you had a rough day, a bit spilt out, but you've still got a bucket full of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
just yeah,
Yeah, shut your laptop, watch an episode of Maths, and
absolutely, absolutely. Have that bit of chocolate. Don't rob yourself of the joy, and tomorrow's a new day.
that's brilliant. Hey, and look, I appreciate your time. It's getting late, and yes, it is holidays,
I know,
but it's
but
also
Grandma
time.
Pat does have to go to bed.
Yeah, you've got horses. You got horses to feed in the morning, and
Because
a donkey that probably wants your attention.
she's needy. Uh, she was $50 on Gumtree. Do I regret it? Yes, some days. But is she the cutest thing in the world? Absolutely.
Oh, and for everyone who's listening, what is this donkey's name?
Her name is Sherry. Um, yeah, like I said, she was $50 on Gumtree. I was scrolling and I went, "You sound like a good time, Sherry." And so I bought it, and yep, she runs the place. She's paddock mates with one of the horses that's retired now, and they're two peas in the pod unless it's food time, and then it's a bit of divorce. But she brings joy, and you know what? Doesn't matter how rough of a day you've had, when you get home and you hear that thing hee haw, you can hear it a mile away. You have to laugh because it's hilarious.
Puts a smile on the dial.
Oh, yes.
And that, look, sometimes that's what we need at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and just to wrap up, a couple of quick questions just to finish off. These are more fun little
Okay.
questions. I know the answer. I know the answer to the first one. But
Oh,
what's your favourite drink?
I don't discriminate, Philip. Oh, look, I have to admit, I'm in my white wine era at the moment. I do enjoy a nice Marlborough Sauv. But look, my one true love is obviously tequila.
Absolutely, that's what I was going to say.
It's poison, but I love it.
Hey, each to their own. Each to their own. I'll have a nice beer any day. tequila was for the younger days.
Yeah.
Now, what's a challenge that you would like to throw out to some teachers?
Oh, I want more people to be call home, ring a kid's parent and just say, "Hey, how you going?"
That's a good one. Let's see if we can do it. It's probably a bit of advice to me as well, because it's one thing that, yeah, it's just like, oh, just another thing that I've got to do. But again, when I do it, so many times it's such a productive
Absolutely,
conversation, and the parents are often,
they
I won't say
love
all the
it.
time, they're
They
often
absolutely
so
love it.
thankful for it.
Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite quote and why?
Hmm. I have to. Okay, it's not a famous quote. It's something that my lovely mother says. And one of her famous lines is, "If it feels good, do it." And look, I live a lot of my life by that motto.
And she seems like a smart lady, so
She's got it going on.
hey, and you've survived this long, so yeah, can't be all bad.
Absolutely. If it feels good, do it.
Hey, why not? Why not? Hey, and also, it wouldn't be the Tattoo Teacher podcast unless I asked you, do you have any tattoos?
Oh my God, I do. I have one, and it looks so fake, but it's so real. And it's just that. I know, how pathetic.
Hey, you've got look. I'm running a poll at the moment. Like it's a 50-50 split between my guests at the moment. Some do,
Okay,
some
okay. Look, I was very anti until I was somewhat coerced into getting one.
that's a story for another podcast.
Oh yeah, that one involves tequila.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. Now, if anyone wants to find out more about Ruby Fuller or
Yes.
Ruby Fuller Equine Services, or how to be, or where just if they wanted to get in contact with you, just for a bit of advice, what's the best way to contact you or get involved? Like, I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay,
Um,
well, I do have an Instagram for the horse page. So that's RF underscore equine underscore. You can tell I don't do the socials that well. Um, I'm not a big LinkedIn person. I'm not, I'll admit it. I had one, I had to make one for a uni assignment. That's the only reason I have it. Honestly, like if you search RF Equine and you want to send me a message, I respond to it on there. That one's a public one, so yeah, people can message me there and check out my donkey.
all right, I'll throw that up in the show notes for people. But Ruby, it has been an absolute pleasure, a barrel of laughs, and I
Always, Philip.
truly appreciate your time, your passion, and it's so much fun chatting with you. So thank you for being on the Tattoo Teacher
Thank
podcast,
you
and
so much for having me.
no worries. You have a wonderful evening. Enjoy your break. You deserve it,
Oh yeah,
and we'll catch up again real soon.
will do.
Cheers.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you for listening to the Tattoo Teacher podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it insightful. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with your network. Special thanks to DJ Fruit Salad for the music. You can find more of his work on Instagram at DJ Fruit Salad Official. Thanks again for listening, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Stay cool, be blessed.